Welcome back to the Sports Perspective TV viewers and subscribers. As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel as yet, definitely hit that subscribe button. Would really appreciate you doing so. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the West Indies team after their impressive series victory over South Africa. We're going to be looking at a few things that we learned from the team. And also, as you can see in the thumbnail, talking about whether or not they are underrated. Did we underrate this team, especially their bowling, after their performance against South Africa? So, going to be sharing about 6 things that I learned from about the team from that South Africa series, and also discussing whether or not this team is underrated, especially their bowling. So, you can let me know in the comment section as well if you think the bowling is underrated, because that's something that we're going to be discussing in this video. Right, so start getting straight into it. So obviously the series against South Africa was an evaluation series for the team, especially for the coaching staff, for them to kind of decide what lineups they can use going into the World Cup, or what players are performing going into the World Cup. So we're going to be looking at a few things that we learned from a batting perspective, from their bowling, and the team overall, right? So starting with their batting, one thing that I learned is that so with Brandon King's improvement, right, and improvement in terms of strike rate, improvement in terms of areas on the field that he's scoring, are now scoring more prolifically, if you would like to say that, scoring better, right? So Brandon King, normally he's known as predominantly an offside player, scoring most of his run to the offside. But in the South Africa series, you see where he's improved his leg side scoring game, hitting a lot of boundaries on the leg side as well, along with the offside. So now he's a more all-round player, scoring in all areas of the field. So Brandon King improvement in that area, along with Johnson Charles batting. We see what he did in the 30-20. That improvement now makes the West Indies a more dangerous team in the batting power play. Not that they weren't dangerous before, but with the improvement of Brandon King now, and like I said, his strike rate improving and him scoring in different areas of the field, they are even a more dangerous team in the power play now. Another thing that I learned was that as far as Roston Chase, so Roston Chase can score fast, but he needs time at the crease, right? And so with that being said, I think his best position to bat is in the top order, right? So kind of where he batted in the South Africa series, but that's also dependent on the match situation, game situation, right? We know that the other batsmen will come in, the Nicholas Pooran, the Shimron Hetmeyer, Ravman Powell, Andre Russell. We know that all of these players will be joining the team and will more likely be put in the lineup. So depending on the flow of the match, how well the openers do and how long they bat and what's required in the match, Roston Chase might fall on the order in certain matches. But ideally, if they want him to play that role of, rebuilding the innings, rotating the strike in the middle overs after the power play, he definitely would need to bat higher up the order like he did in the South Africa series to get the best out of him, right? And as far as the batting, right? It's hard to learn too much from the batting, about the batting, especially because most of the batsmen that we expect to be in the T20 lineup weren't in the team. So when I'm speaking, I'm going to be speaking more just about the batsmen that played, that are a part of the T20 squad, and not so much about like the Kyle Mayers or Fletcher, or those other players that aren't in the 15-man squad, right? So Chase, King, Charles, they are definitely in the 15. So which is why when it comes to the batting, that's why I'm speaking about the batting as it relates to them and their contributions to the team. From a bowling standpoint, Romare Shepherd performed well with the batting as well, but we already knew what Romare Shepherd was capable of. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's something that I learned about the team, right? But the King and Chase doing what they did was definitely something new. As far as the bowling is concerned, no, and this is the big question after seeing how they performed. The first thing I would say is playing the three spinners. So Chase, Motie, and Hussein. It seems like that's a good formula for winning, right? And I will be first to say, because I've done previous videos, stating that I don't think there's a space for all of them in the order. So if Chase plays, that would mean that Motie doesn't play or Hussein doesn't play. But after seeing how Motie bowled and how Chase bowled as well, and knowing the quality of Akil Hussein and seeing how Motie bowled especially in the middle overs, going into the World Cup, I would say, playing all of them in the lineup is probably the best option for the team. It seems as if it's a winning formula. It definitely worked well for them against South Africa. Even though the South African batting lineup weren't at full strength, obviously they have a lot of players that will be joining their squad as well. But they still had quality players in their team. And having Chase, Motie, and Hussein in the lineup was definitely effective against them. So going into the World Cup, I think this is a good formula for the team to be successful. And kind of just to pivot off that as well, another thing that I learned was that bowling the spinners in the middle overs, or having spinners that are able to bowl in the middle overs, is definitely good for the team as well. And it poses a challenge to opposing teams, right? So not only do they have the ability to bowl economically, they pose a threat to batsmen in terms of taking wickets. That's something that I learned about them in this series against South Africa, especially Gudakesh Motie. We see what he did. He was the leading wicket taker in the series, and where he bowled was, after the power play in those middle overs, being economical and taking wickets, right? So the economical part comes with taking wickets. As you know, with T20, once wickets fall, then new batsmen come to the crease and they have to get acclimatized to the conditions out in the middle. And as such, their scoring isn't always as fast as the previous batsman, right? But Gudakesh Motie with Roston Chase also did this well in the matches as well. Akil Hussein did it as well, not as effective as Gudakesh Motie and Roston Chase in the first few matches, but in the third match he definitely stepped up and bowled well in those overs as well. So having the spinners to bowl in the middle overs definitely can be beneficial for the team. And if you even go back to the Australia series, Australia scored a lot of runs against the team, and in at least two of those matches, it was only Akil Hussein that was in the team. Roston Chase did come in the team, but I have to double check if Roston Chase played alongside Akil Hussein, which I think he did. I don't remember, but it was predominantly Akil Hussein as the only spinner in the team for the most part in that Australia series. And we see how Australia just continued their fast-paced scoring throughout their innings with just Akil Hussein. And he was bowling up front, mainly in the power play. Right, so there wasn't that spinner in the team, apart from when Roston Chase came in to kind of change the pace that the batsmen are facing, and and also affect their scoring rate. Right, it was just a consistent medium or fast-paced bowling to the Australian batters, and as such, they were able to continue their fast scoring momentum all throughout their innings. So having these spinners now in the team, being able to bowl in those middle overs will definitely help the team as well. Another thing that I noticed is we have good power play bowling options, right? So even though the South African team was weakened at the top of their order, they still had quality batsmen, right? So we see what Arisa Hendricks did. Quinton de Kock, we know he's a top quality batsman. And apart from the second match when they just went off and scored runs, and even in the second match when they scored 85 runs, the team still took their wickets in the power play, right? So even though they were expensive, wickets were still taken. So we do have good power play bowling options, and that's something that I definitely underestimated about this team coming into this series. The only quality power play bowling option that I was thinking about was Shamar Joseph. And he was a relative. We didn't really know what we were going to get from Shamar Joseph in the T20 format, but, seeing how Chase bowled well in the power play, we already know what Akil Hussain can do, even though he didn't perform to the best of his abilities in the first few matches. And then also Shamar Joseph, we saw what he did in the third match, bowling in the power play as well. So there are Alzar Joseph is to come into the team. Of course, there's a Andre Russell who can probably bowl an over or two in the power play as well. And the captain will definitely rotate bowlers in the power play. Obed McCoy, who just replaced Jason Hole, can bowl in the power play as well. So the power play bowling options that we have, are definitely good and better than we thought. And then the last thing I would say is this bowling attack is underestimated or underrated. And I'll be the first one to say that I definitely underestimated them and underrated them. Let me know your thoughts as well if you underrated them. Coming into this World Cup, the bowling has been a huge talking point about this team. Whether or not the bowling can carry this team to a T20 World Cup victory. And from this series against South Africa, definitely see where the bowling is underrated. They're a lot better than we give them credit for. That should just have to be. Well, I just have to be straight up with that. Definitely underrated the bowling. Gudakesh Motie, top quality bowler. Shamar Joseph, he came in. Not that we underrated Shamar Joseph, we just weren't sure what to expect from him, but he definitely showed his quality in this series as well. Obed McCoy now being a part of the team and has been bowling well throughout the Nepal series and in this South African series as well. Akil Hussain, Roston Chase, like I said earlier, he showed that he can bowl in the power play and even in the middle overs, take wickets and restrict the batsmen. So this bowling attack is definitely stronger than we give them credit for, and I think they are definitely underrated, right? So, well, those are some of the things that I learned from this South African series. Definitely share your thoughts in the comment section and let me know what you learned about the team from this series as well. And as always, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.